was describing. I was out with my hounds, I had permission on 100 acres of land, perfect old farmland, overgrown. They were chasing a rabbit, and all of a sudden the rabbit bolted. I'm looking at my Garmin, and I'm like, geez, I wonder if that's still the property that I'm supposed to be on, but I should probably follow them. So I followed them, and I ended up on someone else's property, and there was a very slight hedgerow, was all that there were no posted signs. Lady comes out, screaming and hollering. I was like, I am so sorry, but like she's probably the back of the room across the field yelling at me, and I'm like trying to explain, I know your neighbor, I'm sorry. And she's like, well, get your dogs and get them out of here. And so that's what I did. I scrambled over there. I caught three beagles that were in hot pursuit of a rabbit luckily, the rabbit must have turned because they had lost the rabbit for a second there. Thank God. Grabbed them, got off the property, all right? So I drive down to the gas station. I'm like, oh my gosh. That was a close one. That lady was irate. I was like, she must be an anti. Well, come to find out, she wasn't an anti. But I'll get to that in a minute. So then my phone rings, and it's the DEC. And this is like maybe 10, 15 minutes I've driven down the road to the gas station, filled up my tank. DEC officer's like, well, I'm here with this Joel Mays. He gave you permission to hunt on this, not hunt, but train your dogs on the property. You know, I need to come down there and I need to talk to you. And I'm like, sure. And he's like, what gas station you're at? I tell him. He comes along and, you know, he goes, are you running these dogs over here on this property? And, yes, sir. Are you shooting rabbits, hunting rabbits? It's April, you know. No, sir. Can I check your truck? Yes, sir. Opens my truck. There's my hounds. Where's the rabbits? I didn't shoot any rabbits. Where's your gun? I don't have a gun. Lady told him I shot rabbits, had a gun. I said, sir, I think that's filing a false police report. He got a little, hey, listen, you know, she owns that land, you know, and you were trespassing. That might be true. I didn't know where the lines, you know, I'm really sorry about that. Maybe I could write her a letter of apology. I wasn't on there very long. I grabbed my dogs, got off. He wrote me a ticket anyway. He said, you know, I have to write you a ticket for trespassing. There doesn't have to be posted signs.
No, they don't.
I was like, wow. All right. Yes, sir. So I took the ticket and I told my dad about it, and our Beagle Club, the Glendale Beagle Club, I'm now the vice president of that, I wasn't at the time, said, why don't you call like the Houndsmen? We join the Houndsmen every year, and like tell them about your story and maybe just ask them like, what should you do? So that's how I've actually met Gene, was I reached out to Gene, and I can't like thank the organization. They made me confident to not just pay the fine. I think what happens is the DEC comes out and they have to write a ticket. The landowner pushes them to write a ticket. And then they just assume you're just gonna pay that ticket, like blindly. Well, you got a ticket, you were in the wrong. Gene said, well, don't pay the ticket. Go to court and explain the situation. Your dogs they don't know where they're going. You were trying to get your dogs. And so I did that. And I literally go to court for this thing, and I try to sit down with the assistant district attorney, this nice lady, Irene, and I tell her the story, and she's like, your dogs wandered onto someone's property, and you caught them, and they were chasing rabbits. Did they kill the rabbits? No. Did they cause any harm to the lady or her property? No. Well, how long would you say we were on the property? Well, the report says I was on the property like 10 minutes. She's like, I don't think we can pursue this. I think we're gonna have to give you a dismissal. So thankfully, she had the sense to see that like, I just ended up at the wrong place. It's not really a crime. So anyway, yeah, I'm a member of a Beagle Club, and open up my newsletter. Thank you for the newsletters, by the way, love them. And at the bottom of the newsletter, I'm reading off all the Beagle Clubs, because I'm not just in the Glendale Beagle Club, I'm also in something called the Iroquois Beagle Gundog Association, which is like 23 clubs across New York. And we've been pushing, myself and our president, Dan Lang, join the Houndsmen, join the Houndsmen. It's not just coon dog people, it's not just foxhound people, it's all of us. And if we hold together, we gotta stick together. And so like we are, I mean, I might be in beagles and you're in coon hounds and you're in foxhounds and you're in bear hounds, and they're all hounds. If we stick together, maybe we got a shot. But that's the only way we're gonna, because the antis are, so this lady and her husband, they just don't want anybody on their property, because they want to hunt their property. You mentioned about how hunting coons on a property wouldn't disturb the deer. I think they're primarily deer hunters. I think they don't like other hunters disturbing the deer as if they're gonna move from the property, because they only have 30 acres. And the neighboring property I was on has 100 acres. And when I, talked to Joel, who I had permission from, he's like, yeah, they've always been a little sore that we shoot more deer. We have more property. You know what I mean? It's like, it stands to reason we're gonna shoot more deer, and so, that's my story. That's how I came to be here. There is one club that I'd like to throw a shout out, was in the newsletter, and we brought it up at the IBJ, the Adirondack Beagle Club. Actually, if you're a member of the Adirondack Beagle Club, every member, I think they have like 50 members, so like not quite this room, maybe half this room, they were all joined in. They basically charged them a little extra for their dues, and then they're automatically joined into the New York account. That's how they feel about the organization. Good. Does anybody have any questions for me from?
I just tell you one, most problems stem from deer hunting. Or houndsmen. 99% of them.
Yes. In another place that I train, there's a guy there that deer hunts, and he bow hunts, and you can train ahead of the rabbit season. You train your dogs, get them ready August 6th, August 15th through the start of the season. By the way, the date that the DEC came out was like April 13th, so it hadn't even closed on that end of it either. And he comes out and he's angry, and you're running these dogs in here, and you're moving all the deer, and like they really do have an impression that. I'm like, well, did you see some deer? He says, well, yeah. I says, well, were they running too hard? He says, well, no, they were little ones anyway. But I'm like, I will let you know when I got his number. I'm like, I'll let you know when I'm gonna be in here, and I don't want to disturb your hunting. But you might want to think of it this way. I might stir something to you. That day that you get a nice big buck comes by you because I moved it, you might be like, hey, maybe that kid's all right, but I do check in with them. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of, animosity, a lot of people trying to fight over big bucks and lots of deer.
I'll tell you what, if it ever comes to where you can hunt off beat in New York, you'll see a big change. A lot of them don't want you on their property because they're baiting them deer to hunt.
And then you might catch them. That could be.
Right.
Right. If that lady, it did seem like she was more angry than she should be. I mean, it's like, what's the big deal? But maybe I was thinking that. Maybe she's got, and I was wondering, maybe she's got marijuana plants or something. I don't know what she's got back there. But, I mean, that's her business, you know what I mean? But like, it's not like I'm telling anybody. I've come across that. Running dogs, and you go through some thick brush and stuff, and then all of a sudden you find a little clearing, you find like 6 plants, it's like, these don't belong here.
Did you trim them?
No, I'm like, they're not mine. You know what I mean? But like with the deer hunting, I mean, can you eat the horns? I mean, bottom line, can you eat the horns? Right? Don't the older ones taste worse? I mean,
Tell you what, I'd rather have that dog running loose in that woods while I'm deer hunting than I would have 10 men.
yeah.
That dog moving around is gonna move them deer around.
Right, exactly.
The old timers used to hunt them deer in New York for down.
Absolutely.
Bucks in the Adirondacks ain't worth it.
Right. Anybody else? Thank you, Gene.